We live in the age of filters. We filter our photos to look attractive. We filter our resumes to look competent. We filter our opinions to seem agreeable. We have become masters of curation. In a hyper-competitive society, we often view honesty as a disadvantage. We think, if I am completely honest, I will look weak. I will lose the deal. I will be rejected. So, we put on a mask. We tell white lies. We exaggerate our achievements. We nod when we don't understand. We build a fortress of small untruths to protect ourselves. But here is the paradox. The thicker the mask becomes, the heavier it gets. Maintaining a facade requires an immense amount of energy. You have to remember which version of the story you told, to whom you live in a constant low-level anxiety that you might be found out. In trying to protect ourselves with lies, we actually imprison ourselves. Today, I want to talk about honesty, not as a moral obligation, but as a superpower. I want to talk about honesty as the ultimate form of freedom. What does it really mean to live an honest life in a dishonest world? To answer this, let us travel through time and consult the four greatest architects of the human spirit: Confucius, Socrates, Buddha, and Jesus. Let's begin in the East with Confucius. For Confucius, honesty was not just about telling the truth to others. It was about cheng, sincerity or integrity. He taught a concept called shendu, which means watchfulness over oneself. When alone, think about who you are when no one is watching. Are you the same person in the dark as you are in the light? In the modern world, we often separate our public self from our private self. We are polite to our boss, but rude to our family. We preach health online, but eat junk food in secret. Confucius warns us that this split is the root of inner chaos. A fractured self cannot stand. To be honest, in the Confucian sense, is to close the gap between your inner thoughts and your outer actions. It is to strive for a state where you have nothing to hide. Imagine the relief of having no secrets. Imagine the power of walking into a room knowing that your reputation is not a fragile glass house, but a solid rock. That is the strength of integrity. Now, let's move to Athens and meet Socrates. If Confucius speaks of moral integrity, Socrates speaks of intellectual honesty. This is perhaps the hardest form of honesty to practice today. In a world where everyone pretends to be an expert, where we are terrified of looking stupid, Socrates became the wisest man in Greece by admitting one simple truth: I know that I know nothing. We often lie to cover our ignorance. We nod in meetings when we are confused. We adopt opinions we haven't researched just to fit in. Socrates teaches us that this is a poison to the soul. To be honest is to have the courage to say, I don't know. It is the willingness to ask questions. Real trust is not built on the pretense of perfection. It is built on the authenticity of your limitations. When you admit what you don't know, people believe you when you say what you do know. Next, we turn to the Buddha. He includes right speech as a crucial part of the path to enlightenment. But why? Is it just to be nice? No, the Buddha understood the mechanics of the mind. He saw that lying creates a complex web of karma cause and effect that binds us to suffering. Imagine carrying a heavy backpack. Every lie you tell adds a stone to that backpack. A small exaggeration is a pebble. A deep betrayal is a boulder. Over time, the weight becomes unbearable. You cannot move freely. You cannot breathe. The Buddha teaches that honesty is the act of putting down the backpack. The Buddha would ask us to examine our intent. Why do we lie? Usually, it is out of fear or greed. We fear conflict, so we say yes when we mean no. We crave approval, so we invent stories. To live honestly is to let go of the need to control others' perceptions. It is to accept reality as it is, without trying to manipulate it. When you speak the truth, you cut the strings of the puppet show. You become free. Finally, we look to the teachings of Jesus. He said, the truth will set you free. But he also frequently criticized the hypocrites, those who were like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside but full of decay on the inside. Jesus touches on the spiritual dimension of honesty. It is about being clean. When we hide our flaws, our sins, and our struggles, they fester in the darkness. Like a wound that is covered up but never cleaned, it gets infected. Honesty is the light. It is painful to expose our true selves to the light. It is scary to be vulnerable. But it is only in the light that healing happens. To be an honest person in the modern sense means to stop performing. It means dropping the act. It means showing up as you are, flawed, human, and real. It means apologizing when you are wrong, not with a PR statement, but with a contrite heart. So, how do we execute this? How do we transition from a life of filters to a life of truth? First, apply the Socratic audit. Stop faking competence. Today, if you don't understand something, say, "I don't understand." Watch how the dynamic changes. You will gain respect, not lose it. Second, practice the Confucian unity. Align your private and public life. If you wouldn't do it in front of a live audience, don't do it alone. Third, use the Buddhist test of speech. Before you speak, ask, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If it is not true, silence is better than a lie. And fourth, embrace the freedom Jesus promised. Confess your mistakes early. When you make an error at work or in a relationship, own it immediately. I made a mistake. Here's how I will fix it. This kills the fear before it can grow. Living honestly is not a soft path. It is a warrior's path. It requires the bravery to face rejection. It requires the strength to lose a short-term gain for a long-term value. But the reward is something money cannot buy. The reward is a quiet mind. When you lie, you have to look over your shoulder. When you are honest, you can look the world in the eye. You sleep better. Your relationships deepen because they are based on reality, not projection. You become a person of gravity, someone who can be trusted in a world of shifting sands. In the end, honesty is the greatest act of self-love. It is telling yourself that you are enough, just as you are, without the filters, without the mask, and without the lies. Step into the truth. It is where you were always meant to live.